This is obviously a hot button topic. Yeah. We move on to a question that has 44 votes. Part 3 exam. Why candidates are not allowed to revisit, mistake/review their answered paper? I think this is also a very popular and hot button topic among the graduates. Okay. Okay, Sophie? Right, we seem to be having problems with the mic. Can you check all the mics, please?
Out of 3, I think. 44 votes, that's pretty high. And this is quite a common questions, and it happens, it was raised every time, I think, when we meet. So exam council do not return the answer, the candidates' answer sheets for the purpose that it only at the administrative, it doesn't the purpose. Like any other professional exam, that is not done lah. So what exam council do now is that we take the middle ground where we will raise to the candidates on area of concern. Like based on the September paper last year, we will have another workshop or meet 22nd February to engage with the candidates, and that's when we will highlight all the flaws or weaknesses of candidates' answer in the past paper. So that's the stand at the moment. Unless anybody else want to add. And then the other thing is that the question and answer is not a very straightforward like a primary or secondary school. It's quite dynamic. There's no one way of answering the question. Even though we have a model answer, the examiners have the discretion to actually read the candidate's answer and see whether that is achieving the proficiency or the expectation of the question. So if we return the exam, it may give the wrong message. That's another thing. So it would do more damage than good.
Thank you. I think, but is in the future that you mentioned just now, will there be like an analysis within a year? What will say that there's a certain weakness in that year? Will there be like an emphasis on the next year and whatnot?
Yes, that would be the move then. So there will be some sort of indication, sort of feedback from council to the candidates on the area of weakness or statistics, sharing the statistic. But we cannot be sharing, this answer 1, 2, 3 is not right. It should be 1, 3, 4. So that professionally, it doesn't make sense to do that. Especially if we split into a module system with a specific topic, from the passing of that, you would know yourself, how well you do on that particular topic.
So there seemed to be someone who raised up their hand. Yeah, you want to say something? Can you identify yourself and ask the questions at the mic?
Hi, I'm Maramir Arifin. Okay, regarding this, the review of the answer paper, I think one of the format that Part 3 exam, LAM Part 3 exam, is that the oral exam is done before the written exam. So it's slightly different from RIBA Part 3, where the oral is after the written exam. So my experience with the RIBA Part 3 examination is that once you've done your written exam, you go back and then review your answers and everything, and then you have the time and opportunity to review that with the examiners during your oral exam, because it's done after the written exam. So I think I put up a question in Slido, but it's not get big words. It's asking what is the purpose of the oral exam for Part 3? Is it to assess candidates' readiness to take the written exam, or by then, before the oral exam, you need to know everything already. Whereas candidates still have a few months to go before the opportunity to study before they sit for the exam. So I think there is something that probably need to look at. So I think that's. I would like to know what's the why the format of oral exam before the written exam, because I found that the other way around is more working, because once you've done your written, the examiners can interview you face to face to see whether what you have done in your written exam suits you as a person.
Thank you. Thank you. If you really have something pressing to bring up, you can also use the mics and raise up your hands. Yes, please. Maybe we finish off. Let Sophie answer this question first, and we get somebody to answer the next gentleman. Yes.
Okay, so I respond to this first. Yeah. Okay, there are 2 points there. We actually discussed it at the workshop last year, and the issue also have been discussed many times with the exam council as well. So the oral exam before and after, it actually serve different purpose, different objective. The current system adopt that the oral before exam is actually to make sure that the candidates who sit for the written exam are quality candidates who are really ready for the exam. So the expectation of the oral is not for the candidates to know everything. So the cut-off point is to see whether the candidates will be ready for the exam, for the written exam in September. Usually oral in May, written exam in September. There are about 3 months to prepare. That's one. Second is that last year we have taken one step further, where the oral examiners were asked to actually prompt the candidates based on the information from the logbook and all that, to prompt the candidates whether the candidates are ready or not, and to identify which are the areas that they need to beef up to make sure that they're ready for the exam. Example, let's say they fill up the logbook, they say that they've done the high-rise housing but not housing. So the examiner will ask about housing. If the candidates cannot answer proficiently, then the candidates would know that that particular area he or she had to beef up. The other thing that we did last year was we asked the examiners to ask every candidate on one fire question. The purpose is actually to prompt the candidates that if they cannot answer the fire question, this is like theoretical, general, not like a calculation or whatsoever, that it prompts the candidates on how important it is to get themselves ready on a design for fire safety. So if we were to do the oral after the exam, it would serve different purpose. It is more to confirm or to verify whether some sort of handicap or some sort of error in judgment. So in the past, the interview was conducted only for borderliners. In our discussion in previous, from what I remember, the purpose doing after the exam does not benefit the candidate as much as before, because before more like prompting the candidates to build up their readiness. Yeah, I hope that satisfies question.
You still have?
Yeah. Actually, I want to ask another question. So, just before we go into the exam, yeah. Bear with me with I need to run my disappointment in getting my graduate architect registration first. Okay, so what happened is that it took 3 years, almost 3 years, for LAM to approve my graduate architect registration, and then the reason given was I don't have, because I didn't submit my SPM certificates. Okay, so for a veteran architect like me, It's just that I was working abroad, so that's why I didn't register for graduate architects when after the graduation. But then I submitted my application in May 2019 because I came back 2017, and then end of 2019 I was told that I need to submit my SPM. I did my SPN 1987. I didn't have the copy of it, and then tried to do online. And then because it's so long, I have to go in person to Putrajaya. So a year later, I managed to get my certificate, SPN copy of certificate, and then not until 2021, then I still didn't get my graduate architect registration.
Yeah, I think there's a delay in that getting your graduate architect. Maybe we can have anybody to reply.
I need to finish that. I need to finish this, and then it was then later on I need to ask around. I think I did ask you, Sally, as well.
Yes.
If you remember, I asked Abu Zarin, I asked Jeffrey Marikan, who was in there, and then I know I got to know that because they need I need to submit my manuscript. So I've given evidence that university didn't produce manuscript for degree not until 2014, something like that. And then by then it's almost 3 years, and it is my enthusiastic to get my part 3 here is kind of a die out. I mean, it's just petty things. I felt that I've been treated like a school leavers who try to cheat to get into the university. So I think LAM, as a body that look after the professionals, need to be more professional in dealing with things like this. I think there are many veteran architects who later in their life terpanggil untuk register, try to register. If you get a treatment like this, it's very discouraging. And then we are not young.
I think I'll just answer it very plainly. The Architects Act and the Architects Rules are out there, and ignorance is no excuse. If you look at the Architects Act, it tells you what you require to get registered for what position, for what membership. It is your duty to make sure that you have it, and it is stated SPM. Yeah. So I think, to cut a long story short, you should have looked at it and made sure that when you submitted it, within that deadline, that you had all your documents. Now, I don't know if there were other delays.
It wasn't being communicated. That's why I
No, it's in the Act. The Act is the law of the land. You follow the law of the land. And you can buy the book in any bookshop. Yeah. Any legal bookshop. So just follow what the Act says. The board cannot circumvent what is written. If it says the membership fee is $100, it's $100. We can't add 1 cent to it. We have to follow the Act. So sorry if you had a bit of a runaround, but read the Act and then you follow what it says. Yeah, we are all under authority here, and the authority is the Architects Act. Sorry about that.
Yeah, I hope that resolves it. I think
I think it's not the end.
David,
If you got any personal thing, you can always contact the secretariat. Yeah.
Just come to secretariat.
Yeah. David there, can you please identify yourself for those who don't know you?
Yes, correct.
And while David is getting to the mic, I was told by the admin just now that please keep, if you are wanting to use a Slido, please mention your name, or else they will have the prerogative to delete the comments and whatnot. Thank you.
Good afternoon, gentlemen. My name is David Yek. My registration number is AY84.
Thank you.
So I make it very clear to you. And one thing I want to come here is to ask some questions. I have already put down in Slido, but my questions all has been deleted. My name appears in Slido, but I do not know
Maybe
why.
you can tell us what your question is, David?
Yes, I'm referring to these questions that
Yeah.
I want to refer here. Now, these questions that I heard just now, thank you very much to all the seniors members here, and says that why don't we give amnesty to those people who breached the SOMF? I also take notes that what Dr. Tan has mentioned just now is in the law. is the law of the land. So the question is, this amnesty, how do you cherry pick to say that, oh, these breaches we can give amnesty, and what comes after we can't? So isn't that going against our basic principle? And in fact, very much of, I think everybody's agree here that the SOMF is perfect. Nobody is going to question that. But the question is, how do the board consolidate or rather regulate when we submit our fee proposal, which is lower than the SOMF, and by whatever nature it is, you can blend it in any way whatsoever, is still below the SMOMF. Would that be taken action? And if not, under what circumstances that this amnesty can be given? And how do you actually cherry pick who is supposed to be given amnesty and who does not deserve to be amnesty? Because as I understand, even the past president of PAM also charges below the what you call the SOMF. And I can tell you, I have spoken to a lot of our council members. A lot of this award-winning PAM architecture is also charged below this SOMF. Because the criteria of charging SOM is not the criteria of putting your project into this award, you see. So my question is, we are shooting ourselves on the feet. I agree with that. What the gentlemen up there also agree. We never disagree on this fact. Everybody support the SOMF, but it's not seen that it has been done. Thank you.
Yeah. So the question is there was a suggestion just now about amnesty. Maybe it was a suggestion. Maybe one of the panel would like to respond.
I mentioned amnesty. In fact, how to move forward beyond LAM boss is you cannot be going back too far back into history to look at it unless there's a special case that you want to bring it up, or unless the case is brought up by the LHDN itself. So that's, again, she's here. She'll be able to advise on this thing. But the fact still remains that you have underpriced yourself in the practice. So with this e-invoicing, you have no way to escape it. Neither has your client to escape it. Because in the past, if you were to appear in court, for example, that my client has underpaid me based on the scale of fees, your client can turn around and say, do you know that you've just breached that? You've just declared that you've breached that. So, in fact, instead of getting sympathy, you will get the brickbats upon yourself again, because you should know yourself. So this is where I advocate, for example, your self-dignity. Sometimes it's worth losing a job for the sake of your dignity, because you have to live with it. And that's why I've mentioned this, Alhamdulillah, dapat project, Alhamdulillah, tak dapat project. Because there is always a hikmah, there is always a reason behind all this. So you don't have to undertake all the project that comes your way, for example. If that's to me, that suggestion of amnesty is only a way out of this thing if it became an issue. Otherwise, we have to comply. What are you going to submit to LHDN? Which scale of fees are you going? We are talking about minimum scale of fees. Minimum means it shouldn't be lower than what is being quoted and tabulated in that document. So I don't understand. You shortchange yourself and then you moan and groan about, life is so difficult as an architect. No, because you have not successfully conveyed to your client. You are engaging an architect. An architect takes, all of us here have gone through that. 5 years of academic training and minimum 2 years of practical training before you sit for the Part 3 exam. And then you go into practice and you are subject to this. And you are afraid to bring out your rights. So something's wrong somewhere from among ourselves. And I think what Dr. Azman suggests is that we must be united, and no other architect should say that, okay, I will undertake this project for a lot less. I've heard about all this, but it's beyond me as an individual architect. So I just keep my nose clean, as the saying goes. You know? And you have to self-respect. If you don't carry yourself, I mean, you'll never be happy. This point, in fact, since I'm speaking, I have the mic on with me.
Yes.
This candidate about oral after the exam, that's what we did before. When I was chairman for about a decade, chairman of the examination part 3 exam, we did the exam first, then the oral. The reason being that you cannot know everything when you sit for the exam. So that's why the oral gives you a chance to speak to the candidate and say, was this the right answer that you have written? He said, yeah, I went back, I discovered that that's not what it is. It should. Then we will ask them, what should it has been? Okay, they explain. I say, okay, that's the correct answer, not what you've written. And then if we can get a satisfactory response from the candidate, then we'll give him the benefit of the doubt by giving him the pass. And he will forever remember that there are 2 answers today, 1 wrong answer and 1 right answer. And that's why I've maintained this, I've said this several times before, that exam first, oral later. Because a lot of the candidates, I've had one candidate, he has sat for our exam, a JKR architect who shall remain nameless. He was able to sort out my problem at the ministry, and yet he says, I have attempted the part 3 exam for 14 times. 14 times! Isn't that crazy? So I told him, stop this exam. You're going to retire soon. You don't need that. Oh, sign up practice. You don't need. There are a lot of part 3 registered architects with nothing to submit. Can you understand that? And this is why I have to just share this. Because you see, we have to rethink our training and education of architects, professional architects. And that's another topic that we will discuss later. But the point given by that speaker just now is correct. I did a written exam. I did RIBA written exam, and then the oral. And that's how it was. Because you cannot be examined on something that you don't know. You have to be examined on something you are aware. And the rest will come with your practice. If you pass the basic, then you will pick up all the professional, I wanted to say tricks or expectations. All the professional expectations will come to you after the oral exam. And I do not know how many of you were examined during my era then. Huh? There you are.
A few.
No, jokes aside. We are not expected to know the whole gamut of the architectural practice. And you look at what was presented today, it worries me. You know, eventually, the profession has lost its glory. It's lost its purpose.
Dr. Tan wanted to say something.
Yeah.
I think, I mean, I've been in the board for many years. I think Tan Sri Esa is longer than me. And this thing is quite fluid in the sense that when I did my exam, it was as per, I think it was under your regime, Ajida. We did the exam first. Yeah, not regime. And then after that, we did the oral. And I remember, I think I did one question wrong. And I had a terrible examiner, oral examiner, Tan Pei Eng, who was all out to fail me in the oral. thank God the other guy was quite nice. It was PKC. And he said, give me a chance, I think. I think that's what they said, because in the end I passed.
Don't listen to him.
But, I think that was during those days. And to be fair, I think Tan Sri Esa is here. I don't know why he's not up here in front, but when it was, there came a point in time where the number of candidates became so many, to the extent there was like 500. And all of them, like typical architects, if your project not due tomorrow, they didn't study. And what we found was they were coming into the exam and the passing rate was very poor. And it was taking up, we got to get 2 examiners for each question. And it is quite painful to mark papers. My wife always asks me, why you always cursing when you're marking the paper? Because it is so terrible, sorry to say, but it was very, very painful. And it takes like almost 2 weeks to go through all the papers. And then you got to swap with the other guy and do another round, and compare the answers. So it was decided because everyone was trying their luck. I'm speaking on behalf of Tan Sri. I hope I'm not out.
I think we should give Tan Sri a chance to...
Yeah, Tan Sri, would you like to...
Can somebody pass the mic? Tan Sri?
Yeah, I remember the time we were serving under Tan Sri, and we have debated this at length, and it was decided to reverse it to reduce the filling rate.
Assalamualaikum.
Waalaikumsalam.
And good afternoon. Yeah, I was involved in the the examination for quite a long time, and actually I started the examination council, proposal for half of my examination council, and I think you're right. At one stage, the passing rate was so terrible, and we got criticized by the government. Government was saying that I think LAM is trying to do a cartel, by limiting the numbers. But it's not true because the candidates who came, you're right, Dr. Tan. They just potluck, all rushing to get the part 3, and they weren't prepared. It was evident in the answer script that we received. And some of them couldn't even express themselves. Either those who selected to do in Bahasa, and those who selected to do in English, the grammar is terrible. They couldn't actually express themselves. So we decided, look, I think maybe it is better for us to actually interview, not say oral exam. We interview all the candidates and to see really in person whether they actually are ready. Because these are the people who are going to be going out there to be responsible to the public. You're actually the custodian of public trust. So the things that we talk today about conflict of interest and whatnot is the custodian of public trust. And you got to make sure that they are actually prepared. They must know exactly how to practice, know all the bylaws. There are so many bylaws and rules and regulations you have to know. And it's evident, because you're not involved in planning, you don't know how to answer, what is needed in development order or kebenaran merancang. So I think the idea is not to, devoid them of any chance, but to prepare them. So this is why we switch from the leniency of doing post-written exam interview, right, to making sure, as I think what Sophia has just mentioned earlier, it is correct. We want to make sure that we are actually preparing our colleagues to be really, really ready to sit. Yes, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Tan Sri.
For that little clarification.
Yeah.
I think...
Well, I have a pressing question for the lady from the LSDN.
Oh, okay. Since you have the mic, we'll allow it.
The advent of e-invoicing, right? was explained to me by Adam earlier. If our clients, we all talk about bad clients here. I think everybody has a common, what they call, experience. You send an invoice to the client ignores it, right? They don't pay you. And sometimes I have this experience. The invoice was sent and it was recorded because it's recorded in your account, right? You have a revenue or income coming in because there's an invoice. But the client didn't pay. They didn't pay for months or years. I got called by LSDN, look, you have to pay this tax, right? Because it is in your invoice. I said, look, I don't have any payment from the client. It doesn't matter, that's your problem, your client, right? You should have sued your client. I told the officer, if I sued my client, that's the end of my client's relationship with me. And I think this happened not just the normal developers, and they are big developers, they are very strong developers. And this is the experience of all of you, I think. I'm pretty sure of that, right? So when you come to e-invoicing, you write a credit note to cancel that invoice, right? You write a credit note, your client says, oh, thank you very much, I don't have to pay you at all. So what do? This is the dilemma. Give him a credit note, you must make sure that the client treats it as an income to him. He pays tax on that, right? So this is something that may be the reality, you know? Yeah. The reality for inland revenue, it's easy for you to impose whatever act that is, you know, Inland Revenue Act, what have you. But we, as a person who's providing services to the country, to the nation, as somebody said, like Dr. Tan said, we are nation builders. We are treated like rubbish.
Thank you, Tan Sri.
Tan
Let's hear a response from Cik Nazaitul.
Okay, thank you, Tan Sri, for the questions. And to highlight regarding the e-invoice implementations, actually this e-invoice implementations is more on your current business process, where you have to issue, currently you are issuing like maybe like a PDF invoice and send to your clients via emails or via WhatsApp. And now with e-invoice, you are just transforming your manual invoice or your PDF invoice into a specific format determined by IRBM, which is in XML or in JSON, or in short, we call it is a digital invoice. So regarding the collections from your clients, if you have any bad debts of your clients didn't pay you for what they owe to you, it's actually, you can set it off as your bad debts. In accounting, you may do so. You can also have a provisions, yearly provisions for your bad debts, like 5% or 10% from your annual revenue. But for tax purposes, the bad debts is only allowed if there is a specific measures taken by taxpayers. You can see the details. I do not remember the details of the measures that should be taken by taxpayers, but we have a specific public ruling on bad debts. So if all the steps have been taken, so actually that can be considered, that bad debts can be written off for your tax computation.
Yeah, I'll tell you what is the requirement to treat as bad debt. You must show to Inland Revenue you have taken your client legal action.
Not necessarily legal action.
There's a lawyer's letter. This is what I always advise, right? Lawyer's letter to the client, letter of demand. Then if it's not responded, that is your evidence to LSDN that this was happening.
Yes, correct, Tan Sri. That is the step that should be taken by taxpayers.
Is everybody agreeable to that? To take your clients to court?
Actually, this problem does not stop at just income tax. It also applies to service tax. We do not collect our fees, and we ended up having to pay the service tax because they assume that we collect the service tax on behalf of the client, because no, but it's under the same department now. So the problem stops. Yeah, okay. But I'm saying this, the problem is not only on income tax, but also on service tax.
Puan, maybe you can help me. I think all of us have the same problem. We followed exactly what Tan Sri said and your compliance. We wrote legal letters of demand. We didn't go to court because there's no point going to court. There are other people in front of us. So we wrote it off after we based on that. And they still come after us and still want to fine me. Huge amount. And I think it's totally unfair. Number one, we didn't get the money. Number two, we took the action in compliance. So we are so happy to see you here. Maybe you understand, you understand you know, we are professional people. It's not like we are all multi-billionaires, you know. When one of these things comes into our office and you owe like a lot of money, you really have some sleepless nights, correct?
Yeah.
And we are, like Tan Sri said, we are nation builders, you know, we are going all out to build a nation. We need some sort of, I think we follow exactly what you have said, but they're still coming after us and still not letting it go. Is there a higher power to appeal to?
Okay, if you have any unsatisfaction on your audit, on the audit process that's been done on you, actually you can, and if there's any additional taxes imposed for that particular year of assessment, including the penalties, you can still write to the director of the our state, depending on where your tax file is. If it's in WPKL, Wilayah Persatuan Kuala Lumpur, you can write to the director of the state and to appeal, and you can explain this situation that you're facing. So at least we can have, or you can also file your Form Q. If you have any, if you feel that you have been, is unfair to you regarding the tax computation and the tax reassessment, then you can file in your Form Q.
But must pay the penalty first, right?
Yes. You have
Pay
to.
everything
You,
first,
you can
then talk.
apply. You can apply for installment. You can apply for
Experience.
installment, but at the same time, you can file your Form Q so that we can process your appeal.
Okay, Puan, I think all of us have this problem, I dare say. Okay, if not, it's 90%. And can we task Pam to maybe organize a meeting and we do it and tell them this is what we are suffering.
Yes.
There's
Dexter
no
will do it.
intention to cheat. There's no intention to run away from taxes. We pay our taxes, but we cannot be paying taxes for money we did not collect.
I think maybe we'll have to set up a meeting with one together with
You can write to our CEO if you need, if LAM need an engagement with IRB for specific tax matters. So you can write into our CEO and he will assist you to reach out to the specific department depending on the issues that you are bringing in.
Actually, for your information, we have actually pursued with the tax department many years ago to say we should only pay tax based on what we received and not based on what was billed. But we were told point blank that it cannot be entertained. So it's not that we didn't try. We actually tried a couple of times.
I think there should be more in-depth issue like what you are facing. It's not like just on a very brief or a very general issues. You have to spell it clearly so that we can understand what the industry is facing. I think
Tak apa, Datuk Ping. Sekarang kerajaan madani. Dia.
Yes.
Okay, thank you, Cik Nazatul. So moving forward, I think on the tax issue and also on the service tax, Pam and LAM will work together with the necessary agencies. Okay, I think let's move back to LAM boss. Okay, I think all of us here want to hear about this. Question from Architect Intan Jasmine. LAM boss, how does it work under design and build project? ACP appointed by the design and build contractor, not by the developer.
This has 34 votes. I think maybe before any one of the panel, this is one very good question because one of the key in my presentation just now was to create a better practice environment. As you well know, without, those who are doing design and build, sometimes the design and build contractor will actually declare a different fee scale. They might say to the developer, we are following minimum minimum fee, but they don't pay the architect minimum fee. They pay another lowest fee, right? So inevitably, by following the LAM boss, you cut off this system and you have to declare the actual amount. So perhaps in the future, it will create a better practice environment. Maybe
Okay.
Dr. Tan and Datuk.
Yeah, I'll just concentrate on the LAM boss thing, okay? I'm not going to talk about whether the fees and all this. We are giving each project registered a specific LAM boss number. We are going to implement in the next stage where every building plan submission needs that number. So if the design and build architect, the contractor's architect is doing the building plan submission, that means he's going to be the PSP, then he needs to come under the system, okay? And especially if he certifies the CCC, because remember the whole system came about from CCC. So that number will be essential. So if the contractor, you got to tell your developer, if he's not hiring an architect and he hires this design and build firm, and maybe you're parked there or you're just busybody advising, you're not even going to get the job, then you have to tell them that the architect that does the submission and the CCC has to be appointed under the LAM boss system. That's the way we have tried to capture it. Now, we haven't thought of every possible scenario. I'm sure there are other ways and means people work around it, but maybe you can highlight it to us in the Q&A, in our FAQs, and we try and address it there, okay?
I think not just to elaborate on that, I think we have addressed this when we were preparing the general circular. When the project is governed under the HDA, right, at the point when the developer already undertake that the appointment of the ACP shall go under the boss system, and eventually when the project, the developer actually give it to the design and build contractor, that requirement actually get passed on, because end of the day, that project which is under the HDA licensing requirement, all the architects appointed, regardless whether it's by the developer or appointed by the design and build contractor, has to comply with the requirement. If you refer to the general circular, it actually mentioned anything that's under HDA, you need to go under the LAM boss system. Yeah.
Thank you, Dato'.
Yeah. I think there's a popular question here by Lim, but I'm not sure which Lim, because I'm sure there's many Lim here. LAM is aware of the gap in knowledge, but doesn't share what's the right way forward in the question. So is this pertaining to exam? Perhaps Mr. Lim can clarify.
I think Architect Wan Sophie did mention, she listed down all the topics, the weakest topics faced by the candidates. Maybe Sophie, you would like to respond?
We
Perhaps
clarify.
Miss or Mr.
Yeah,
Lim
Miss,
can
sorry,
clarify.
I assume it's Mr. Maybe it's a Miss Lim, no? Oh. No? Anyone? Going once, going twice? Yeah, it's almost anonymous then.
Anonymous lah.
Maybe Sophie?
I just respond like, I think what you said is correct. So I think this will be addressed when we have a better engagement with candidates and the exam council and exam panel. Chan Sio An is actually one of the exam panel. My Sifu also in the exam panel now. We will address the candidates on the weak areas. And I would like to take the opportunity in answering another question that I saw just now, requesting for model answer to be released out. So we cannot do that. I'll explain why. Sometimes in 2020 or sometime before that, the examiners actually inform council that they find there's a pattern in the candidates' answers. And this pattern consistent pattern usually is in a tabulation form, a chart with short notes. So that is actually not really a problem if, as long as the examiners can comprehend the answer and the answer actually respond to the questions, the marks will be given. But we start to get concerned when this template, it's almost appear like a template, appear in candidates and the template is wrong and the answer is wrong. And that wrong answer appear in all candidates in that particular question. So that concerned us. So meaning that the candidates actually, the question somehow trigger familiarity in the past year question, which they have attempted in answer, and then they just automatically answer the question. So almost like AI, automated answer, AI go on rogue. And this AI is not artificial intelligence, it's architect intelligence go on rogue. And it happens to us all the time. It's just unfortunate to the candidates that it happens on the exam day. So imagine if we were to give the model answer. So the candidates will memorize this model answer. If we do that, it will kill the purpose of the exam.
Thank you.
Thank you, Sophie. I just want to, probably we can discuss on that point. Do you have any suggestion how the universities can help to prepare the graduates for part 3? Especially on the weak points.
Yeah. My position on this is actually a bit different to the others. At university, there are 1,001 things to prepare. You cannot expect that, the 1,001 information to be, shoved into the students. So the best way to, actually what education system should prepare the students is actually the ability to think, the ability, to be curious and to get your knowledge, to build your own capacity, to set your own standards. And the details, you just, the university should open all the doors and the students sort of discover themselves. So they should open the doors and then get the information themselves. That would be the best way. Example, taking like the development plans or development control just now. We don't teach, what is plot ratio, what is the density and all that. But we teach why there's a need for development control. It's a conceptual, it's a macro, it's a philosophical way of education rather than in micro calculating pipe size, what is the gradient. That is a bit unnecessary for me.
I think Architect Zuraina, she pick up the mic to answer as well.
You can add. So my position on this is more philosophical rather than. So there's no way you can teach when in university. University shouldn't be teaching like the clauses in contract because that is very academic and they're very detached. But the university can teach what does contract means. It's a conceptual idea.
The bigger picture.
The bigger picture. Once they understand the big picture, the details they can do on their own.
Architect Zuraina?
In the university, there is following the policy of the architectural studies. They will have in part 1 professional, something relating to professional practice, and in part 2, so there will be 1 semester on that subject. Okay, and normally they will teach about contracts, type of tenders, and code of ethics also, the architect's roles and responsibilities, those in the construction industry. But and some universities also have exams, some they have continuous assessment, but normally they also, like part 3, they don't give model answers. Okay. Most universities are trying to not to have exams, written exam, but they give continuous assessment assignments that run about maybe 2 or 3 assignments in a semester relating to professional practice, and it's like 4 weeks each to send in the assignment. So that's how they will gain that knowledge, and sometimes depending on the lecturers, whether they have been involved in part 3 panel or something like that, sometimes they can also give a a little bit of a taste of Part 3 in the university's exam or teachings or in the curriculum.
Thank you. Thank you, Architect Zuraina. I think we have a popular question here. Code of Conduct for Architects, Sub Rule 28.1.417. Explain the practice of contra fee while complying to this rule. From Michelle Ng.
Okay, I'm actually reading the Code of Conduct number 17. It says the professional services of an architect who carries on business as an architectural consultancy practice shall be remunerated solely by fees payable by his client. The fees actually can be in terms of money, right? It can be in terms of property, as long as the property value will be equivalent to the fee, or any other form, as long as at the end of the day he can pay you in kind. It doesn't mean that it must only be money payment. I think there was a bit of confusion with regards to the second part of that clause that says the services of the architect in employment shall be debarred from any other source of remuneration in connection with such services rendered, meaning these are talking about kickbacks or money that you should not be getting, or payment from contractor to get certain favors from you. So you are barred from doing that. But in terms of fee payment, it can be in kind.
Thank you, Datuk Tan Pei Eng. Very straightforward.
Just to add to that, and you have to pay tax on what you contract. Okay? Don't think that the Rolls Royce you took is free. You have to get it valued as to how much the contract was, and you have to pay tax on it.
I think you have to pay service tax on that as
You
well.
have to pay service tax. It's deemed as equal to monetary payment. Okay?
Puan Nazatul dia dah angguk-angguk.
Yes, she's taking notes.
Sometimes if a developer, if you do shop houses, he let you take shop houses first. Take the corner, you won't lose money, okay?
Okay, maybe we can take a question from Tan Sri Isa.
Yes.
PCWD is a specialized discipline that architecture training does not cover. Can LAM urge the DOSH to review this matter?
Yeah. Okay. In fact, we had special sessions with the DOSH representatives. After, I think, 2-3 hours of discussions, they themselves do not know what is the role of an architect as far as their position is concerned. I think this is something that's quite serious. We do not want our developer to push that responsibility to us, because I told my developer, I said, I'm in no position to take on the responsibility because I do not know how to do it. So don't allow your client to force it upon you. This is something I think Pam and LAM will be working jointly together. We were even thinking of going to see the minister to get the regulation repealed, but we got the advice from the president, we should probably engage our own KSU to highlight the problem so that we can work with them to discuss with the respective agencies to get a clearer understanding on what is our role. But definitely do not allow the developer to push that responsibility onto you.
Dato' Asman, you want to?
I think I just agree with what Dato' Pei Eng said just now, because we did discuss and we will deliberate on this and to bring up the matter up until, but I like to go through step by step, because why we need support from Ministry of Works. So meaning to say, bring up to Timbalan Ketua TKSU first, because he's aware about what's happening here in with board, and of course with support from KSU and Minister, and hopefully we get the buy-in, and if anything happen, then definitely I would like to sort of persuade, convince KSU to bring the matter, if possible, up until our PMX as well. So this, for me personally, should stop.
Yeah. Related to this, Datuk President, there is a question here whether we will issue out a circular with regards to...
Definitely, but let us do our work first.
Yeah. And for records, please, Mr. Aiman, give the Secretariat your full name, for our repertoires. Aiman banyak Aiman. Yang salah Aiman pula.
And just to add to that, just now, Architect Dexter also mentioned that PAM will be issuing practice notes as well on this.
And for your information, I think PAM, through Pusat Binaan, has also tried to engage the insurance company that's doing the PII for our members. They themselves said they do not understand the scope of work, so they will not be even able to cover as an additional scope. So until they're very, very clear, what is our role and responsibility? So this is something that we need to work on as well.
Thank you. We move on to the next question. What from Dato' Architect Kiat Tong? What if client refuse to sign off works done? Can we still claim our fees? I think this is with regards to the LAM boss system.
If the client refuses to sign off work done, that means there's a dispute with regards to the services rendered. Then you should go and talk to your developer to see what is the problem. And if he's trying to be funny with you, maybe you should consider not continuing with your service. So you can still claim on the work done. If there's a dispute, then you have to refer to dispute resolution on whether you're entitled to that payment or not.
Yeah,
But the LAM boss system is good that it limits the dispute only to the amount that is your work being done after the last payment.
So need to sign off. Yes. The next question by Shapawi is the same about returning papers, so we'll move on. Architect Intan Jasmine, does LAM boss system link with LHDN e-invoicing? I think not yet. I can answer this because actually we had some engagement with LHDN. LHDN like this system very much because they know exactly the fee that is being charged to the architect. So they are pushing it. In fact, they are actually wanting to push it to commercial projects because it will help their job.
I think it's good for us. Then they don't come and harass us later as to why we write this off and so on. Everything will be very transparent.
Yep. Okay. We move on to Muhammad Arifin. Is there a possibility LAM boss trigger to the developer of non-compliance on SOMF and revoke their developer license? So I think what I gather from this question is that if they don't follow a scale of minimum fee, can it affect their developer's license?
It's not under our ministry, but it's under the Developers Licensing Act. So it's something we can bring up with JPN and KPKT. Yeah.
Okay, next question, next comment from Architect Elena. Soft skills and business communication is very important for architects. Suggest to include syllabus in School of Architecture. This will help bridging architecture education with the industry. Architect Zuraina?
Okay. Normally is soft skills and business, COMM is communication. Business communication is sometimes embedded in the curriculum already. In some of the subjects, it's like marketing strategies. Example, in the marketing strategy shows how you use your soft skill and how you promote your firm, okay, and to get the job. So it depends on how the lecturer. It depends on how the lecturer promote the subject. But I would have done it in my course, okay. But it's also in the project management also that you need to use your soft skills also, and also your business communication also is somehow embedded, and it need not be. You need not have a particular one subject just based on it, but it's good to have also. All right. I think I will answer the question.
Okay, let me add to what Wan Zuraina mentioned just now. For information, last week we have prepared our white paper with regards to, if you can recall, there was an issue with regards to jurutera miskin. Yeah, anybody? Jurutera miskin
in Parliament.
Miskin, poor engineers. So what happened? Government from Ministry of Works, so even I would say KSU himself instructed 3 boards to sit together. So we did. we sat together and came up with the finalization of white paper presented, and I think we have forwarded to bahagian dasar antarabangsa over last week. One of the what you call it, I would say main issue highlighted in white paper was the starting salary for engineers. But for architects, not much alarming this issue. But again, we found out for information right now, starting salary for architects, especially in private firms or even with developers, starting salary started from 2 to 3,000 ringgit Malaysia. Can imagine 2,000 to 3,000 starting salary, whereas for the engineers started below that, 1,500 to 3,000.
For part two.
For part 2. That one for part 2. No, in our white paper, Santi, I think white paper we check, we come back with that. But now, my point is, after finishing up our white paper, one of the findings that we need to back up and then being advised by our KSU as well is to strengthen competencies for students, especially for graduates. Because why? Right now, we have to balance out with the supply and demand. We are well aware right now, quite numbers of us, opt to go to Singapore better, rather than staying in Malaysia with 2,000-3,000 per month. But now, bear in mind, education that we have now, we have to back up. So one of the tasks that we have to, take up after this Panzuraina is to look back. I know our Ministry of Higher Learning has imposed certain numbers of hours, but KSU did ask how to work together with Ministry of Higher Learning, where we can impose some of the courses. For example, not only technical. Technical, I think we're talking about that for so long, design and so on. Maybe those days got English, I think English class, something like that. So up until certain years, so we want to sort of abolish that, and to add up with other, something like, just now, what is it? Management, is it? Not management, the soft skills.
And business communication.
And then management, leadership. And last but not least, we have to look at other, competencies such as we mentioned, BIM and so on. So this will be tabled to Parliament once everything ready from the part of Ministry of Works. So we shall see how the future will bring to our architects profession. I think that answers, because I agree. We can't be, followers for so long. We have to be leaders as well.
Yeah.
That's what you mentioned.
Thank you, Dato' President. Just a reminder from the organizers, please remember before you go off to collect your CPD by signing off, because or else it would not register in the system. So please do scan the QR code when you go out to sign off your attendance. Thank you. Only at the end, don't go out now and sign off.
Okay, stay put.
From Hamzah.
Okay, let's move to the next question from Jason. We are young, newly set up ACP. Many big corporate firms charging at low fee to secure bulk projects. To compete against, any suggestion for us youngsters? Probably we can hear from a senior and also from Adora. Adora, would you like to respond first? Then probably we can hear from some seniors.
Maybe we can also ask, because Jeffrey is representing the business side of things. Maybe we can see Jeffrey's answer on this. I mean after Adora, maybe we, I don't know. She's been very polite, Jeffrey. Lagi senior dulu.
I think one of the unfortunate side effect of LAM boss or scale of minimum fees is something that we have been aware. It automatically means younger firms will be harder pressed to compete against established firms because you don't have a track record and perhaps your setup is maybe not as strong. One of the way I suppose is that perhaps PAM should encourage more competitions to bring up the younger practice. There are many developers who always solicitate proposals for free. Perhaps it's time to issue reminders to them that all competitions must be sanctioned by PAM. And this will be an avenue for youngsters to showcase their skills in design and bring their name up and be exposed to the market.
Yeah.
Okay, I think maybe if I just add on a little bit, I think I'm almost the same with what he thinks. But I think first before it's because right now the situation is where the company, the big company, I think the situation why they can charge lower fees. Okay, I think because they already have resources. I think they have all the knowledge and skills, you know. And they don't need to charge more, you know. But for us who are just started, you know, you have nothing and you have to work more. You have to find resources yourself and all that, so you have to charge higher. So I guess to find solution in that, I think, of course, again, back to the minimum fees, right? So, and it's, if you stay on the minimum fees, okay, what we want to focus on is on the adding the value, means the value of you as an architect, what can you add on so that then your client or your prospects client can look at you as someone different, you know, your personality, your skills, maybe your specialty, your specialization, okay? Maybe in this case, when you start your your specialization not at the point where develop when you just started your practice. It's supposed to be developed way before, even before you working. I mean, the earlier the better, of course. I think this is what the trend is looking at, is the more the special skills, right? I think that's the only way to compete. Because if not, if you are just mediocre, who wants to see you? Who wants to appoint you, right? So looking at that, if I'm going to that direction, I think I want to just emphasize a little bit more on how education could help us. I mean, for those who just, you know, wanting to build your personality, build who are you the type who is a designer? Are you the type who is a project manager? And all that. So when you go to working experience, you build that portfolio. Building portfolio is over time. It takes a while. It takes a long period for you. Then when you have that portfolio, once you already set up your company, then you add up some more. Maybe you can collaborate with a more experienced architects. And that's one, portfolio. Second is networking, relationships. Build relationships, see people, get involved with public events. Go to PAM and LAM or whichever, you know, on government events, for instance, developers events. I mean, you have to be out there. You have to show your face, give your name cards to everyone, and let them see you, know you. At least that's the first step. Yeah, I guess that's how it is.
Thank you, Adora, for your views. It sounds more convincing coming from your generation.